From Trump officials sharing sensitive information on a commercial app to Donald Trump's bid for Greenland, it's time now for Brooks and Marcus. That's New York Times columnist David Brooks and Ruth Marcus, a longtime columnist formerly of The Washington Post. Jonathan Capehart is away this evening. It's great to have you both here. Lots of news to discuss this week, starting, David, of course, with the controversy over those secret details of pending military strikes in Yemen that were posted on that unsecure group chat that mistakenly included our friend, journalist Jeffrey Goldberg. We've had a few days now to digest this. What stands out to you as the consequences?
Yeah, I've spiraled. When I first saw Jeff's story, I just thought, mind-boggling incompetence, like something I've never seen before. And it just seemed like, and I've been saying for weeks, the Democrats should talk about nothing but Trump incompetence, incompetence, incompetence. But then it got uglier. I was at the gym, believe it or not, when I watched Pete Hegseth come off an airplane and make his first comment, attacking Jeff. But just mostly it was an aggressive form of bald-faced lying that tells you a lot about a guy. It was obvious they were caught with a screw-up. A normal human being, I really think 99% of human beings said, we messed up, we're going to fix this, we messed up. But not the Trump administration. They went on a vicious attack of character assassination, of ad hominem, of all the ugliest things it's possible to dredge up, and that was their universal instinct. And so I found it incredibly ugly as the story went on.
Ruth, what about that? I mean, it's characteristic of a White House that never admits wrongdoing. What do you make of the way that they've answered this national security scandal with a fiercely political argument?
Well, surprise. I think this is I thought when this first broke, I thought this is an incredible screw-up and a great story. And by the way, when he came to the Washington Post as a summer intern, I was Jeffrey Goldberg's big buddy, professional partner. So I would like to say I get all the credit or the blame for whoever he turned out to be. But I think this is one of these sticky moments for an administration. We saw it when Bush said, heck of a job, Brownie, when we all knew that they were messing up with Katrina. We all saw it when the Biden administration messed up the exit from Afghanistan. This is one of those moments that's actually bigger than the moment itself, because, first of all, anybody can understand, anybody at the gym understands you do not treat operational details in this insecure way. They can draw distinctions all they want about whether information was classified or not. Everybody knows this was bungled. Number two, it just illustrates what we also all knew, those of us who are honest with ourselves, which is this crew, and I will start with the Fox News host who was tapped to be the defense secretary, is not ready for prime time. If they were ready for prime time, they would not be discussing secrets like this on an open channel. And finally, the counterpunching. You can get away with a lot. We've all made mistakes, and some of us who've over the years have learned even to apologize for them. If they had just said, we messed up and moved on, I think they would have served themselves better than doing what they've done now, which is to attack Jeffrey Goldberg, who was the only responsible participant in this whole event. And people are not going to treat this is going to be remembered as a bad moment for this administration.
And David, there's also the substance of what was said on this chat. I mean, the Trump administration has signaled that the transatlantic alliance as we know it is over, at least as compared to the last 80 years of history. But in private, on this chat, what we saw from J.D. Vance, he says, I just hate bailing Europe out again. The Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, described Europe as freeloading in the chat. He calls the continent pathetic. What does that lay bare, and what are the implications of that?
Yeah, this is our level of foreign policy thinking. Like, oh, we don't like those guys. Basically, you've got an administration, and these guys, down to the ground, they divide everything into hard and soft. And they think Putin is hard and Europe is soft. They think universities are soft and they're hard. And so are you masculine or not? And they code Europe as soft, which is ridiculous. Europe is a diverse country with a lot of hard people and soft people. But this is part of not only one screw-up. We've had 2 months or 50 days, wherever we are, of a comprehensive weakening of our security apparatus. They're diverting FBI agents away from terrorism. They're firing people who are now being recruited, I've read, by Chinese and Russian agents to see if the former U.S. employees. They're gutting the National the Nuclear Security Agency. They're gutting the security clearances. So this is a comprehensive assault that will make America less safe.
Meantime, let's talk about Greenland, because as we reported earlier this evening, the vice president, he led a delegation there, and it was reflective of President Trump's desire to control this semi-autonomous Danish territory. What do you make of President Trump threatening territorial expansion in the Western Hemisphere, trying to annex Greenland? How does that contrast with his America First ideology and his rhetoric?
America only. It's not just America first, it's America only. It's the toddler who says, I see that, I want it, give it to me. It could be Greenland, it could be Canada, it could be the Panama Canal back. Whatever he wants, he's going to get, as if there isn't what we thought was an international rules-based order. And just to amplify what David was saying, though I do want to say feminine is not necessarily bad.
I do.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, I knew
I was
you were
trying to
getting
talk in
trouble
their
with me
voice.
there.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay. Ruth
I
is
will
gonna
take
beat
it
me up
as
after.
I am not going to beat you up because that would be not feminine of me. But I used to ask during the first Trump administration when I would see foreign policy experts about how reparable the damage was. And I thought, and they would say it was irreparable, and I would say, well, maybe we can fix it. And I thought President Biden did a very good job of knitting back together alliances that had been terribly frayed. When I see the way President Trump is talking about Greenland, I must have it, or the way he and others are talking about European allies, they're freeloaders, or the way he talks about the 51st state, I think we are not going to be able to put this broken system back together once he's gone. And I think that is a very scary moment.
Do you see a through line here? I mean, if you look at his America First rhetoric and now this expansionist rhetoric, it makes sense of it for us.
Yeah, some of it is, I think what Ruth said, it's just a kid wanting things. But if there's a through line, I guess he has some thing in his head. Well, first, he's delusional if he thinks the Greenlanders want to be Americans. And if some big Donald Trump comes and say, I want you to join our country, what country on earth is going to say, oh, okay, we'll do that? But the through line, if I can think of it, is he really likes the late 19th century. And this was an era of ugly American imperialism. And so I think we had territorial expansion, Philippines and all over all this stuff, and it was not a good moment in American history, but he somehow wants to do it all over again. And so he has this thing for McKinley, but if you go back, Spanish-Mexican War, all this stuff was just a dark moment, and I think it's what he likes.
The world might have worked that way then. It does not work that way now. It needs to work through if it's going to work, it needs to work through alliances of people who treat their allies with respect, and they can save the masculinity for their enemies.
Lastly, Ruth, it's great to have you here. After an impressive and impactful career at the Washington Post, you decided to step down. Help us understand why.
Well, first I want to say that I'm really grateful to be here at the NewsHour. And the reason is after I decided to resign after 40 days, 6 months, and 6 days, but who's counting?
40 years.
40 years, sorry, 40 years. Yes, thank you. I had, among other comments, a lot of people from who were viewers of the NewsHour saying, we hope we'll see you there. So I'm very grateful that you're having me, even though I'm kind of professionally unhoused for the moment. I had to resign because I could no longer tell my readers that I was able to write what I wanted about the things that I thought were most important to say. And what happened was, back in October, when Jeff Bezos, the owner of the Washington Post, decided not to run the already drafted endorsement of Kamala Harris and not to run presidential endorsements later, I disagreed with that decision, and I wrote a column expressing my, I thought, polite disagreement with that decision, and it ran. When Jeff Bezos decided that he was going to shift the opinion section more broadly in a way to limit dissent, as David pointed out on this segment when Jonathan was here, I also wrote a column, and that column, I had to write it because it was what I believed. I had written the previous column. That column didn't run. And when that column didn't run, I knew that my time at the Post had come to an end because I could no longer write what I wanted to say.
Well, we are glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Ruth Marcus, David Brooks, thanks so much, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, you too.